Thank you. I am really, really happy to be here because this is the right audience. You are the people that the Minority Business Development Agency, we're part of the Department of Commerce, the federal government are looking for. And so I'm going to share a few things with you today. I'm going to tell you about tech transfer. How many people have heard of technology transfer? Oh, good. That's good. And small business innovation research, that's funding. And then we're going to talk a little bit about space and space commerce, because that is the next big thing. We're going to the moon by 2030. We're already planning it, and NASA needs everything. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But technology transfer, the United States government, we invest $150 billion a year in research. And that's done through 300 laboratories. Most of them are federally operated laboratories. Oh, there, they have them slides. Most of them are federal, but some are operated by universities and other organizations. Those 300 labs, there's scientists in there, just call them mad scientists. They're creating stuff. They just create things. They have nanofabrication labs. We've got robotics, you name it. But the federal government doesn't produce products. The federal government doesn't commercialize and sell products on the market like you do. And so in order to sustain our economy, we need that technology to be in your hands, in the hands of small businesses, large businesses, entrepreneurs. You don't even have to have a company yet. If you've got a good idea or you need some technology, you can engage with the federal laboratory. And so what that entails are things like license agreements. Some of the things, there was a law enacted back in the 80s that enabled federal scientists to own the patents for the things that they develop. And so a lot of those things, licenses can be, you can enter into an agreement, license the technology, and then some of them are free. I have one client who licensed technology. He's got 5 years to commercialize it. In the first year, he's already got his product going. And so what he'll do is he'll share royalties with the scientists who developed that. And that's so also we can retain talent. You know, not a lot of people want to work for the feds like I do, but, you know, we were losing talent to private industry who could pay more. And so we're able to retain that talent now. Not only license agreements, of which I know the Department of Energy has 6,000 sitting on the shelves that they're doing everything they can to get to people like you so that you can use those and create new products. But facilities. Let's say you need a clean room because you're doing something that, you know, has to be in a sterile environment. Or you've got an idea, but you need a nanofabrication lab. Who can afford that? The federal government. So you can actually license those things. There's a lab right here in Gaithersburg, a nanofab lab. The government uses it during the day, but for the rest of the day, overnight, anybody can go there and use that nanofab lab to develop products. We have a lot of pharmaceutical companies that go there. We have individual scientists that go there, and I've seen some of the things that have come out of that nanofab. And some of the facilities are free. This one happens to be $1,500 for, I think, eight hours. That's not bad when you look at the equipment that you have access to. There's license agreements, there's equipment. If you need equipment, you can use the government's equipment. And the best part is scientists. You can actually, let me just give you an example. We had a company that, when the Ebola crisis was big, they developed a system for cleaning ambulances really quickly. And they needed to be able to test and make sure that there was no trace left in the ambulance before they went to pick up the next patient. They ran into a roadblock. They got in touch with NASA because somehow they knew about tech transfer. They got in touch with NASA. She came and worked with them and looked and saw immediately what the problem was. After she left, they solved it. And what I read is within 6 weeks, that product was on the market. So there are lots of ways to work with the federal labs, and that's traditional technology transfer, putting technology into the hands of commercial industry enterprise. The next thing is small business innovation research. Has anybody ever heard the term SBIR thrown around? Has anybody ever applied? No? Okay, that's awesome. Well, most of my audience is, see, I knew this was right, people. A lot of people don't even know about it. But what you see here, the first phase of SBIR is $225,000. It is a grant. There is an application process. I'm not going to say it's simple. I'm not going to say it's easy, but you're all successful and you're here, so it doesn't scare you, I'm sure. But the first round of funding for phase one is $225,000. That's the maximum. Agencies, that amount may vary depending on what the needs are and depending on the department, but that's the maximum by law. Phase one is just for you to develop your idea, and that's, I believe, a year for phase one. Once you develop your idea, you submit your paper, you can apply for phase two to go to the next phase, and that is to start building your product, to build your prototype. And so that money goes up to $1.2 million. It might be a shorter cycle or a longer cycle, but I'm going to tell you where you can find all of this information. But that's not bad. And you know, that's how bad the federal government needs you guys to create new products. We, in terms of countries, in terms of innovation, we used to be in the top 10. We're not anymore. We've dropped. Some European countries are getting things into the hands of business faster than we are, and so we're about to change that right now. So I've talked about Philly's. How do I switch this? Oh, thank you. Just like, whew, let's think it. Okay. So I'm just going to go through those. I'll leave there for a second. These are just examples of things that have been done with federal tech. You can go to the next one. But while she's flipping through, memory foam, GPS, the internet itself was developed in a government lab. Baby formula, Pampers, I think you saw that up there. Insect repellent, and just about every pharmaceutical drug that's on the market started in a federal lab. And there are 12 agencies that participate in technology transfer and SBIR. It's Commerce, Defense, Agriculture, HHS, which the NIH labs are big, they're under there. National Science Foundation, we saw an example of that, education, NSA, you name it. So there is an awful lot of money up there and support. It's not just about the money, it's being able to work with the lab. Well, I just want to give you one more example of tech transfer. We have a client in Hampton, Virginia, and it's called J&F Alliance Group. So they do augmented and virtual reality. And they were just doing that. They met the scientists from NASA who had a closed-loop biofeedback system. And so they got together, they started talking, he visited them, they visited his workshop and his lab and everything. What he's doing now is amazing. He's built the weapons simulation training. The Hampton Police Department is interested in putting it in their new training centers. Now, sports teams, the Lakers have contacted him, and what it does is it puts you in an environment that changes based on your biometric signals. And the gentleman before me was just talking about that, and I was really interested. And so let's say, for example, you're in this augmented reality, and you do a police stop, and it's a beautiful, bright, sunny day, everything's peachy keen. You stop the car, you stop the passenger or whatever, the driver, and then it starts to rain and it gets cloudy. Now, this system is measuring his biofeedback and changing his environment based on those results. And so if you do well, you know, it'll put different situations in front of you. And so that goes on and on. But what happened is when the police trainees and the different people that used it in the military as well, when they came out, they were like, oh, how'd you do? And they were like, oh yeah, I think I did pretty good, I did good. And they're like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You were experiencing anxiety, you had some fear going on, you were nervous. And so what they're doing is they're teaching them to recognize what they're experiencing so that they can make better decisions. Do I draw that weapon? Do I fire that weapon? And so that same technology is now going to move into sports. If anybody's ever played golf, when you learn how to hit that, it's not easy for me anyway. I tried. There's too many different things you have to learn to do. But with a system like that, you can kind of master that and remember all of the things that you did to get that ping that you wanted, you know, and get that ball to go where you wanted it to go. Last thing, because I know you guys have some other people coming after me, space industries. Anybody interested in that? You know, you don't have to be an astrophysicist. You don't have to build rocket boosters to get in on space industries. And if you just go to the Department of Commerce website, just Google space industry forecast. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's going to be $1 trillion industry before long. And it is the new frontier. We are going to the moon in 2030. They're already preparing for that, and we're going there to mine. We're going there, you know, it's a 14-month journey with a 1-month layover orbiting the moon before you can get enough speed, trajectory, or whatever before the timing is right to just launch the rest of the way to Mars. And so NASA needs everything for that. I mean, they need everything. They need research done, they need products developed. And I get their list, and I mean, they're looking for people to build habitats, you know, it's just amazing, the opportunities in that. And then there's something that's called space commerce that's really, we have a lot of satellites up there, and I'm gonna tell you why this is important. We have a lot of satellites up there, and satellites used to be these humongous things. It took a lot of money to launch. Now, we're launching satellites instead of one big one, array of 100 satellites that can fit in your hand. They're faster, they're giving near real-time data. There's so many up there, and smaller companies like you, are building them and launching them. And so there's gonna be a lot of traffic. We know what's up there now, and we get data, but the data comes down in a format that no one can really use. And so 2 things are gonna be needed by businesses like you. Somebody has to build an interface so that we can use all of that data, and somebody has to manage space traffic. And that's the next thing, and the Department of Commerce is working on that. The reason I'm saying this is because look into federal technology transfer, look into space industries. As a matter of fact, MBDA, I'm actually leaving here to go down to Houston. We're gonna do a partnership with Johnson Space Center, and to get more MBEs involved with them and in on some of these things, because if we don't get in this market now, I mean, again, we'll miss the boat, we'll be behind trying to catch up, somebody's going to be trying to level the playing field in space industries, but we don't want that. We want to be there first with everybody else. So with that, let me see, I have one more thing. Oh, the other thing, when the federal government gives you this technology, right, I mean, I can't emphasize how serious we are about enabling you to grow your business through tech transfer, especially my agency, the Minority Business Development. We're the only one that is tasked with growing minority firms. We're not the Small Business Administration, and small business and minority business are not synonymous. They're 2 different things. And so, Johnson Space Center, I just found this out this morning, they're so serious about people helping them get to Mars. They're bringing in 75 venture capitalists in June, early next month, because they're out looking for funders for you. They're looking for funders for people who work with them and use their technology, because they know, here, I can't just give you this and expect you to, you know, you need some help, you need some support, you need funding, and that's, you know, one of the biggest hurdles for minority businesses. With that, I'm just going to plug my MBDA Envision Tour. I didn't bring any information about it with me today, but I'm going to give you my phone number and ask, because anybody that's interested in technology transfer, please text me. Just tell me a little bit, give me your email address, and I will get back to you and see if we can find out if there's some technology you need. We'll see if we can find it. If you need introductions, whatever, we'll do our best to get you started. So that number is 202-441-6951. And again, it's 202-441-6951. That's my cell phone. It's the one I use. I don't even use my desk phone. But get in touch with me and let me know. I'll give you information about the MBDA Envision Tour. You can Google that too. We'll be in New York on May 21st and 22nd, followed by Detroit on June 10th and 11th. Did anybody have any questions for me?